You walk out to the gravel drive of a morning and there they are, little green tufts pushing up through every crack and every joint and every gap in the stone. You walked that drive clean not 2 weeks ago. Today, they are back. By next week, they will be ankle high, and by the end of August, they will have taken the whole thing back if you do not get after them. And the fence line behind the barn is worse yet. Brambles, vines, sprawling grass, weaving right up through the wire, every bit of it needing to be pulled or sprayed or cut before the place starts looking neglected. So you drive to the hardware store and stand in that aisle. Bottles of glyphosate at $15 to $30, combination bottles at $40, long residual soil sterilizers promising a full year of bare ground for $45. And the fellow behind the counter tells you these are the only things that really work. You carry a bottle home, you spray it, and 3 months later the weeds are back and you are laying down $45 again. Every spring for years now, $200 or $300 on bottles, and the weeds keep right on coming. Now sit with this a minute. There are 6 honest old methods of killing weeds that careful farm folks in this country used before any commercial herbicide existed that cost next to nothing, that work as well as those bottles for most jobs, and that the weed killer companies have no reason on earth to teach you because there is not a dime in any of them. My grandfather killed weeds the same way Rebecca's grandmother killed weeds, the same way the careful farm people have done it for 150 years. And every one of those methods works today exactly the same as it always did. My name is Amos Byler. I am Amish, and I farm here in Holmes County, Ohio. Today I mean to walk you through all 6. The strong vinegar recipe, the vinegar and salt mix for fence lines, boiling water off the kettle, the propane flame torch, the newspaper and mulch smother for problem patches, and the plain business of pulling them out after a rain while the ground is soft. All 6 work. Each one fits a different situation. Knowing which one to reach for is the whole skill. And I will be honest with you about the bold words in a title. Folks will tell you stop them for good. The plain truth is there is no honest way to keep weeds from ever coming back in this country, because the seed blows in on the wind every spring and the birds carry it in from the next field over. But these 6 will knock down what you have got. Keep your fence lines and your drive clear for a full season and save you the $200 a year you have been handing across a counter. That is the honest math of it. Now, let me show you how it is done. The first method is strong vinegar with a little dish soap in it. The plain white vinegar in your pantry is 5% acetic acid, and it is not near strong enough to do much against an established weed. What you want for real weed killing is what they call horticultural strength vinegar, 20 to 30% acetic acid. You will find it at the hardware store or the feed and garden store, sold in gallon jugs for $15 to $20, and 1 gallon treats a great many weeds. Here is the chemistry, plain. Acetic acid at 20% or better draws the water right out of the plant tissue and breaks down the waxy coat on the leaves, and it burns the foliage within hours. On a hot sunny day, you will see the weeds start to brown inside the first hour and be completely toasted by supper time. Purdue University Extension has tested this carefully and confirmed a kill rate of 85 to 100% on above-ground weed tissue at all growth stages with 20% or stronger vinegar. Real science. Real results. The recipe: 1 gallon of 20 to 30% vinegar. Add about 2 tablespoons of plain dish soap. Any brand at all. The soap is only there to help the vinegar stick to those waxy leaves instead of running off onto the ground. Stir it gentle. Pour it in a clean garden sprayer. Apply on a sunny day with no rain coming for at least a day. Spray the weeds direct, soaking the leaves till the solution drips off them. Inside an hour, the leaves curl. Inside 4 hours, they brown. Inside a day, they are crisp and finished. And here is the honest limitation of it. The vinegar burns the top, but it does not always reach down to the root. Small weeds with shallow roots, the kind pushing up through your driveway cracks, generally die outright. But your bigger established weeds with deep roots, the dandelion, the dock, the thistle, the settled-in crabgrass, will brown out on top and then come right back from the surviving root inside of 2 or 3 weeks. For those, plan on spraying 2 or 3 times across the season. Each time the new growth shows. This method is best for clearing flower beds, driveway cracks, walkway joints, and small annual weeds. Cheap and honest and genuinely useful. The second method is that very same recipe with one thing added: salt. For the places where you want nothing, growing back the rest of the season, the gravel drive, the fence line, the gaps between flagstones, the seams of a sidewalk. You add salt to the vinegar mix. 1 gallon of the 20 to 30% vinegar, 2 tablespoons of dish soap, and 1 full cup of plain table salt or rock salt, mixed thorough until the salt is all dissolved. The salt is what gives this mix its lasting kill. Salt is a desiccant, which is a fancy way of saying it draws the water out of the plant tissue and out of the ground around it besides where the salt soaks in. The soil goes too salty for a plant to pull water up through its roots, and any seed landing there cannot germinate. And salt does not break down the way the vinegar does. It persists. On a typical sprayed driveway crack, you will get 6 to 12 weeks of nothing coming back. Keep after it through the season, and you can hold an area essentially bare for a full year. 2 honest safety words about the salt, because they matter more than anything else. I will say today. 1. Salt does not stay where you put it. Rain washes it. Snowmelt carries it. On sloping ground, salt drift will damage your flower beds and your lawn edges and your tree roots downhill from wherever you sprayed. I have watched a man salt a fence line, and then, a year on, watch the maple 40 feet away go yellow and start to die. Because that salt found its way to the roots through the groundwater. Use this only where you want nothing growing for a long while, and only where the runoff cannot reach a thing you care about. Tfo. Salted ground stays salted. If you ever decide later that you want a hedge along that fence line, or a tree, or even grass, the salt will keep it from growing for years. The only way to undo it is to wait out many seasons of rain, or to dig out the dirt and haul in new. Choose your spots with care. Used in the right spot. The driveway crack. The gravel around the mailbox. The fence line you will never plant against. This is one of the cheapest and most effective weed methods a man can know. My grandfather used the very same recipe. Costs about $2 a gallon of mix. Kills small weeds in hours. Keeps the spot bare for months. The third method is the simplest of the whole lot. Boiling water off the kettle. Take this one serious, even though it sounds too plain to be true. Boiling water poured straight onto a weed kills it. No chemical. No spraying. No drift. Just hot water off your stove. The chemistry is the same as the flame torch we are coming to. Heat ruptures the plant cells and cooks the plant from the inside out. The water and sap in those cells boil and swell and burst the walls. The plant goes limp within hours and is finished by the next day. And the shallow roots get cooked right along with the top, which is exactly why this beats vinegar at reaching the root on a small weed. The method: kettle on the stove. Bring it to a hard rolling boil. Carry it careful out to the weed. Pour slow and direct, soaking the foliage and the base of the plant. 1 full kettle handles about 3 or 4 good-sized weeds, or a stretch of driveway cracks about 2 feet long. And a plain safety word: boiling water burns skin instantly and badly. Closed-toe boots. Long pants. 2 hands on the kettle, with the spout pointed away from your body. and pour slow so it does not splash back at you. Never on a windy day where the steam can blow into your face. Never with a child anywhere near you. A spilled kettle across a foot is a serious burn, and a long summer. Treat the kettle with the respect it has earned. This costs you nothing beyond what it takes to heat the water. It works best on driveway cracks, walkway joints, gravel paths, and small isolated weeds. You can hit precise, and it is not selective. It kills anything green it touches. So do not go pouring boiling water on a weed in the middle of your lawn unless you want a dead ring around it. The plant specialists at the United States Botanic Garden list this among the most genuinely effective non-chemical weed methods for spot use. The Romans were doing it 2,000 years back. The old folks knew. The fourth method is the propane flame torch. And this is the upgrade on the kettle, and one of the best tools a homestead can own. A handheld torch on a standard 20-pound propane tank with a long wand and an adjustable nozzle. You walk the area and pass the flame quick over each weed for about a second. That is all there is to it. You are not setting the weed afire. You are giving it a brief, hard heat shock that ruptures its cells. The leaves wilt in minutes. Brown by the next day. Dead by the end of the week. The University of Minnesota Extension and the Iowa State Extension both confirm this as one of the most effective non-chemical weed methods there is, especially on broadleaf annuals, in driveway cracks, gravel paths, and around the edges of garden beds. A flame weeder runs $40 to $100 at any hardware or farm supply. Add the tank, and you have got the whole outfit. Propane goes a long way on this work. A full tank handles many sessions across a season. Now 5 honest safety words, because this one matters most of all. 1. Leather boots, long pants, gloves, and eye protection. That flame runs well over 1,000 degrees at the nozzle. 2. Check with your fire department before your first use. Some counties have burn bans through a dry summer. And a small flame in dry conditions becomes a brush fire faster than you can step back from it. 3. Bucket of water or a hose within arm's reach before you start. Always. Never begin without water right there. 4. Do not use it near mulch, wood chips, dry leaves, wood fencing, or anything at all that can smolder. I have known folks to start a real fire in a pile of dry wood chips with a torch 6 feet away from it. Because the embers went on the wind, mulch and dry plant matter smolder for hours down underneath and then burst into flame after you have packed up and gone in for supper. 5. When you finish, walk that area again 10 or 20 minutes later and check it. If you smell smoke or see any wisp of vapor at all, douse it. Better yet, soak the whole area light with water as your last step every single time. Used with those cautions. The torch is the cleanest and fastest and most satisfying weed killer a homestead can own. No chemical, no drift, no residue in the ground. The fence line that took 3 hours to hand pull last summer takes 20 minutes this summer. And it works on those same patches year on year. The propane is the only ongoing cost you have. The 5th method is the slow one that cannot be beat. Newspaper or cardboard and mulch over the top. For a large patch you want cleared and kept clear. A section of yard you mean to turn into a garden bed. A problem stretch along a fence. A place where invasive grass has taken the whole thing. No spray and no torch beats the plain business of smothering it out. Mow or knock down what is standing first. Lay 4 to 6 layers of plain newspaper. Or a single layer of plain cardboard. right down on the dirt across the whole patch. Wet it thorough with the hose to weight it down and start it breaking apart. Cover it with 3 to 4 inches of mulch. Wood chips, stuff, shredded leaves, whatever organic material you have got. That is all. Walk away. What happens next is slow and complete. The paper blocks every bit of light from reaching what is underneath. With no sunlight, there is no photosynthesis. And inside of 2 or 3 weeks, the weeds under there die back. The paper and cardboard rot down naturally over 4 to 6 months and enrich the dirt as they go. The mulch on top keeps the ground cool, holds the moisture in, and stops new seed from getting a start. For any area you can walk away from for a season. This is the most thorough method on the list. It does not hurt the soil. It improves it, adding organic matter as everything breaks down. It does not poison anything you might want to plant there later. It does not drift, and it does not splash on the barn cat. And it works on the worst of the worst. Established perennial grasses, thistle patches, even brambles. By the next spring, that patch is bare, workable dirt ready for whatever you want in it. This is what Rebecca uses for turning a new piece of ground into a garden bed. It takes time, and it never gives you the quick satisfaction of the vinegar or the torch. But on a hard problem patch, it gives you a better result than any of them. And the 6th method is the one nobody wants to hear, and the one the old folks did most of all. After a rain, when the ground is soft, you walk the area and pull them out by hand. I know the other 5 sound more interesting, but here is the honest truth about weed pulling that nobody on a screen wants to tell you. Hand pulling after a rain is the only method on this whole list that takes the entire weed out. Root and all. In one pass. The vinegar burns the leaves. The torch wilts the top. The salt poisons the ground. Only your own hands. Actually take the whole weed out of the earth and put it on the compost where it belongs. The trick is the timing. Wait until after a good soaking rain. Or a deep watering. Wet ground lets go of a root. A weed that would snap off at the surface in dry dirt slides out clean and whole in soft, wet ground. Get yourself a hand tool. A small cultivator, or a hori knife, or a dandelion fork, and work your way down a row. On a good evening after a rain, you can clear 100 feet of garden bed in under an hour. And every last weed comes out entire. The careful old folks never saw weed pulling as drudgery. They saw it as one of the small, honest rhythms of a healthy garden. 15 minutes a day. A few times a week. Walking the rows. Pulling what has come up. Keeping the bed clean. Nothing ever truly gets out of hand if you walk the rows every few days. Weeds only become a real problem when they are left alone for weeks until they go to seed. This is how the whole human race did it for 10,000 years before there was ever a bottle to buy. It still works. It costs nothing. It improves the ground. And it gives you 15 minutes outside in the evening light, which is itself worth something. Now look back at what we have walked through. 6 methods, each for a different situation. For small annual weeds and flower beds and walkway cracks, the vinegar and soap. For fence lines and gravel drives and places you want bare all season, that same mixed with the salt, added for an isolated weed or two in the drive when the kettle is already on. The boiling water, for larger areas of small weeds and drives and paths and around bed edges. The flame torch, for turning a problem patch into clean bare ground over a full season. The newspaper and mulch, and for the daily upkeep of a clean garden bed. Your own 2 hands after a rain. Not one of them needs a commercial herbicide. Not one needs a glyphosate bottle. Not one needs a soil sterilizer that poisons your ground for years. Every one of them costs next to nothing. Vinegar, table salt, water off the kettle, a $40 torch that lasts a lifetime, free newspaper, and your own hands. The hardware store will sell you a $15 bottle that does the same work as the vinegar. It will sell you a $45 sterilizer that does the same work as the salt and contaminates your ground for a year besides and can kill a tree whose roots run under where you sprayed. And it will sell you another bottle next spring when the weeds come back. Which they will. $200 a year. Easy. There is no money in teaching folks. The answer is a gallon of vinegar, a cup of salt, a kettle on the stove, and a willingness to pull weeds after a rain. There is a great deal of money in selling $16 bottles to every household twice a year. So, the store stocks, the bottles, the commercials run, and a whole country sprays chemical on their driveway, cracks every spring while the answer sits in their kitchen. You can be one of the ones who remembers. So here is what I want you to do this week. Look hard at the weed trouble on your own place. Be specific about it. Where is it? What kind? How big? How bad? Small weeds in the flower beds and the walkway cracks. Get a gallon of 30% horticultural vinegar. Add 2 tablespoons of dish soap. Spray on the next sunny day. $18 total, and the jug lasts you a year. Fence lines and gravel drives you want bare all season. Same recipe with a cup of salt to the gallon. And pick your spots with real care. 1 or 2 weeds in a driveway crack. Boil the kettle and carry it careful, and pour slow. Larger drives and paths. Put $40 into a propane torch and a tank and use it with respect, and you will have it the rest of your life. A problem patch you want, turned into clean ground. Lay the cardboard. Soak it. Cover it with 3 inches of mulch. And walk away for a season. And for the daily keeping of your beds and edges, walk them after the next rain with a hand tool and pull what has come up while the ground is soft. 15 minutes a few times a week. Forever. Tell me down in the comments what the worst weed trouble on your place is right now. And what part of the country you are in. And if your own grandmother or grandfather had an old weed-killing trick we did not cover here. Share it? For those little family methods are exactly the kind of thing that goes missing when nobody troubles to write it down. I read every single one that comes in. Next time out here, since we have been talking about keeping a place clean and well tended, I mean to show you the old way. My people sharpen a knife and an axe with stone and strop. The angle, the pressure, the small daily habit that keeps your kitchen knives and your work tools sharp for a lifetime instead of going dull inside of 6 months. It is the natural next step after today. Until then, pour the vinegar. Boil the kettle. Light the torch. Lay the cardboard. And remember that the cheapest weed killer in this world is the one already sitting in your own kitchen. That is how the old folks did it. That is how it is still done on any farm or homestead that remembers